Schmo who just happens to have an iPhone, you have to kind of differentiate yourself by being, smarter about your commentary, by getting juicier tidbits, and being, and offering more color, and being a better columnist. So you have to step up your game a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel you fared this week then? Feel good about it?
I feel good about it. I'm still, it's, what is it, there are no days during the festival.
6, maybe.
6, okay.
What day is it? Tuesday?
Yeah, it's Tuesday. I still have, I've gone to a lot of things at any festival where you get both Bill Gates and Megan Fox in town is a good festival as far as I'm concerned. I'm still waiting, as a scoop meister for that one thing I know that kind of, is linked and goes around the world, the one little moment that defines a festival from a social and gossip point of view. So, but I mean, these things happen to be completely dependent on the gods of serendipity, so I'm waiting.
Well, that idea of,
patiently.
That idea of being at the party for the right 15 minutes, I think, is a good way to put it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I something I've kind of noticed, and I don't know if it's me, is that stars are coming in, in very target ways, coming in and doing what they need to do, and not hanging around as much as they used to in previous years. So, and it's during those hanging around periods where, they may get into trouble or do something a little bit out of the norm.
Well, let me elaborate. Let me follow up on that.
Right.
Do you feel like, what do you think, flashing back 7, 8 years, was it easier to sort of have the casual hangout with a star, a director, or someone, a talent, to be able to get that kind of access that you were looking for? Is it much more controlled now, or has it always been sort of this sort of press junket kind of feel here at the festival?
It's hard for me to separate, the social guy from what it really is, because having done this for a while, it's in many ways easier for me.
You get invited in.
Yeah, and I think people trust, you develop, a certain trust, or they know that you're gonna say things, but not say them in a certain way, or hold back, and that just comes from experience. I think, in general, in terms of a festival, I think it's reflective of a larger sort of corporatization of sort of the Hollywood machine in general. I mean, you look back at, old Herbert's film of photos and stuff, and there seems to be a sort of spontaneity to the way stars interacted, and I think because of camera phones and blogs and that sort of thing, so many animals, stars, if you look at them, they really look like...
calling stars animals?
No, I was going to make the point, they look like hunted animals. Like, I mean, they seem so incredibly self-conscious, and actually, I always feel kind of a little bit sad for them in the sense, like, how can you even, deign to be normal in that sort of way? Like, I look at someone like Natalie Portman, who seems ostensibly normal for a star, and you wonder, okay, is she going to crack at some point? Because, there's always a season, you wonder.
There's always her co-star, Winona Ryder.
That's right. Oh yeah, that was so sad yesterday, like looking at the whole circus around Natalie Portman with this film, and the light not shining as brightly on Winona. I mean,
and that's also what the movie's about, which is fascinating.
It's what the movie's about, yes, and that's part of the long view of looking at celebrities. I mean, you can burn really bright and fast, and but do you want to stay in the game for a long time? Maybe that's not always the best thing, right?
Who are your gossip social idols? Whose work did who or what has inspired you to do what you do, to sort of create your own persona?
I mean, definitely, the old guys like Dominic Dunn and Rex Reed are the people I admire, just because the way they played with words. A lot of celebrity coverage these days, especially if you look at sort of the digestible world of blogs, tends to be just like information, droppings. And it tends to be very crude, and those guys, they were able to weave a story while giving you gossip, Like, I read this Rex Reed famous essay by Ava Gardner recently. Went to visit her in her hotel just, it reads like true narrative, and that's what I try to aspire to. I mean, sometimes one needs to get down to the common denominator because of the world we live in, but,
So we can go back and we can read your columns and follow you on Twitter, but share a couple of your favorite moments, anecdotes, experiences you've had with folks this week. What has stuck out for you?
Meeting Bill Murray, who introduced himself to me as Bill Murray. That I always find that sort of funny. Hi, I'm Bill Murray. And there's always this dance when it comes to meeting celebrities, especially for someone who does what I do. In that, there's always this wall between the celebrity and the journal or the observer, but you have to not acknowledge the wall. So even though I know who Bill Murray is, and Bill Murray knows that I know who he is, none of us are acknowledging the basic fact in the room. Anyways, I ended up in a bizarre conversation about his brown leather vest, and he told me he was fretting about the fact that it was brown, and he was more of a black leather guy generally. So I mean, that was just sort of an odd moment. And then meeting John Hamm and his wife, his partner, I believe, Jennifer, was interesting, because I remember a time when his partner was more famous than he was, because she was the director of Kissing Jessica Stein, etc., and he had been parts in it. And I love watching kind of the celebrity food chain in that way. And I made a point of approaching her and talking to her about her work very tactically. And then John Hamm actually introduced himself to me, and I kind of pretended not to really care, and focused on Jennifer, even though I cared desperately.
So are there sort of conversational techniques that you use? What kind of tips would you give? Folks, there's filmmakers here watching this, and they go to parties, and it sort of feels very daunting. Like, how do you even go up and talk to someone that you admire or that you're impressed with? Like, how do you sort of break that wall of sort of insecurity that you might find at a big party where you're supposed to network?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it goes back to what I was saying about not breaking that wall, and that you don't want the celebrity to ever smell your fear. And sort of just look them into the eye and just take power in that exchange. But also having said that, I'm someone who is just like a media omnivore, and I read extensively.
What do you read? What do you like to read? What are your favorite?
I mean,
everything.
All of it, so I always know things about celebrities, and I can always connect dots and that sort of thing, and always start off with not the obvious thing, like the John Hamm thing I mentioned. Like, don't mention that bit. Mention his little part in Kissing Jessica Stein in 1999, whatever it was.
Well, and I imagine over the number of years you've been doing this here in Toronto, I see you, and whenever I'm here, I see you at everything.
Right.
You've developed a celebrity of your own. I mean, people must come up to you and ask you questions or approach you in the same way.
Sure, yeah, I mean that...
How have you dealt with that?
Well, that makes, it makes it easier in that, if you're seen that way by others, it helps you in the general flow of things, the swing of things. But it also makes things very complicated in that, you're trying to be the observer, and you're trying to, pocket little moments away so, you can watch like a hawk, but if you're kind of being the one watched, or if I'm appearing on tip sheets for parties, it's just sort of very topsy-turvy when you get into that point. You're operating on different cylinders, and I kind of wish I could go back to the moments where I could just be the fly on the wall, and work less obviously. But now they see me coming, so you have to work much more smartly.
So what are you looking forward to in the next few days of the festival? What's left? What's on your agenda?
Well, I guess Springsteen rolled into town today, so I think that's definitely a wave of buzz. And what else? What else is there that you're looking forward to?
Oh, let's see. That's a good question. I can't even think of what the big gala is.
We've done Redford, we've done Woody,
all the big
we've done Eastwood, yeah.
left Springsteen.
Megan Fox is long gone.
Was she ever here, really? I mean,
Yeah, she was here. Yeah, she actually went to the museum with Brian Austin Green. They took out some hours in the day on the weekend and went to see this exhibition that's on at the Royal Ontario Museum about the Chinese warriors, like this tomb of Chinese warriors that
wow, talk about
is on display. Yeah, it was a very
fly
bizarre.
on the wall for that.
Yeah, it was a bizarre sort of spotting that I got on that, you know. So I mean, they're still honeymooning, so I'm assuming there are a couple that like still spending time together.
From your mouth, that's true.
That's right.
You said it. Shanann Govani, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having me.
it.
Thanks.
Have fun.